So, not big news because we've been talking about this for such a long time as a fan base, but Benjamin Albright really sparked up some controversy, if you will, yesterday by saying that he would not be surprised if the Chargers moved up in the first round for Penei Sewell, specifically referencing pick number 7 with the Lions. And of course, that sparked a lot of debate because, while we've been talking about it as a possibility, we never really considered it as strongly. And to be fair, Albright only said he wouldn't be surprised if they moved up. He didn't say that I'm hearing that they're going to move up. And he didn't say that, oh, Sewell is their target for sure at this pick or whatever. He's just suggesting that he wouldn't be surprised if they moved up for someone like Sewell. And then in below his tweet, someone asked, would they take Horn if he's there? And he responded with actually Darisaw. So the Chargers, at least based on what he's hearing, as much as you can believe that he's hearing the right things, because we know the Chargers are so tight-lipped, he's hearing that the Chargers will do something in the first round to get their tackle, whether that's waiting for Darisaw or trading up for Sewell. Now, a couple of reasons you would trade up for Sewell. One, he's the best tackle in the draft, or at least the best tackle prospect in the draft. Maybe you think that Slater is the better player right now, but you don't pass up a 20-year-old generational type talent like Penei Sewell is. Another reason you do it is because you're not exactly a team that develops second-tier offensive linemen very well. Not that they developed G.J. Fluker at all, but he was a right tackle and he got a decent career in the league. He's still playing, right? He was drafted in 2013, but they have not shown that they can take. Now, granted, they haven't had many at bats. It's only Trey Pipkins and Sam Tevi in the tackle spots after Fluker. Lamp was a guard that never panned out for kind of different reasons than development, but Feeney never really developed. So if you take a guy like Sewell, who's supposedly this generational talent, you probably have a better chance of developing him because he's just going to be good enough, if you will. Herbert didn't really show up as much on tape, but he had it, right? And in spite of his coaching staff, he was still able to perform. I kind of can see like that rationale for Sewell, right? He's so good, he's so talented that he's almost fail proof, right? It's almost like a sure pick. Nothing ever is. But I do think, taking a guy with more talent is better than taking a guy with less talent. The other reason you do this trade is because the Chargers have a defensive coaching staff that's really, really good. Whether that's Ronaldo Hill, as the actual defensive coordinator, or their secondary coaches, defensive line coaches, especially their defensive line, by the way. But Brandon Staley has shown that he can work with tier 3 or later guys and make them, make a really good defense out of it. So he has to have some stars. Not that he has to have some stars, but he's always had some stars, either Von Miller and, Chris Harris back in Denver. Not that he was a coordinator, but, the defense worked then. And of course, with the Rams, he's had Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. That kind of helps. But there are 9 other guys in that team. And he took these guys. I believe the average draft position, if you count undrafted free agents as round 8, the average draft position for his defense last year for the Rams was like the 5th round. And the idea of taking round 5, day 3 guys and turning that defense with some stars like Joey Bosa, Derwin James, Kenneth Murray, and turning them into a really good defense because you're great at developing talent and putting that talent in the best place to succeed. That's why you can, give up some of this capital to get Sewell, because you can take guys, maybe it's a Trill Williams, a Cameron Bynum, a, Avery Williams, from Boise State. And you can take these guys and put them in the best position to succeed, and they're going to be great. Do we know that for sure yet? I don't know. Staley's never really had like this kind of a pulse on a team before. He's always walked into a situation and then just made the most of it. Now, can he pick these guys? Let's assume yes. We at least know that he's a good defensive coordinator. Like, there's no doubt about that. As a defensive coordinator coach, he's great. Can he be a head coach? I don't know. We'll find out. So you can give up a future first. Like, let's say the Chargers are picking like the 20s next year, and that this class was the same as next year's class. Like, let's just say it's the same 2 classes. I know it's not, but let's just pretend. Is Penei Sewell more valuable than Christian Darisaw and Greg Newsome? Debatable for sure. But on the other hand, I'd still rather take that swing on someone like Sewell, if that's all it took. Now, if this is starting to look like a huge bidding war where the Chargers have to give up, next year's first, next year's second, this year's second, just to move to 7 for Penei Sewell, I'm out. But overall, I think if they give up next year's first to move up, I think that's fair. And I think that's worth going for. Now, the only thing I can't do with this mock draft, at least as it pertains to this video, is I can't take next year's picks and I can't show you how it affects next year's draft because there's no board, there's no simulation, and I don't know how new these players are. So I'm just going to do it in the realm of this season. How does it affect the Chargers this draft? And can we find players in the secondary to make it work? Also some edge players and some interior offensive line, sure. But can we make it work enough to justify taking Sewell by giving up what we give up? Now, it took a long time for me to get through these simulations to find exactly what I needed. And it's one, Detroit needs to accept my trade. And two, the Falcons and the Bengals needed to not take Sewell. So it took some time. I did that ahead of time, though. So thankfully, we're good there. So right now, I have the Chargers here at pick number 7. The cost was 13, obviously. Then their second round pick, number 47. And it also cost them their 4th round pick and their 5th round pick. In return, they got pick 7, but they also got the Lions' 3rd round pick at, I believe, 101. So, not bad. Obviously, they go from, having that, 2 top 50 picks to just the 1, but it's Sewell. So can we salvage the rest of the draft? And if I'm missing a player, if you think there's a really versatile defender or something the rest of the way, let me know in the comments. I don't know everybody. So, but let's see if we can make it work. So we do take Sewell. Then here's the question that the Chargers have to ask themselves. Can we salvage the draft? Are we good enough at drafting and developing? And honestly, considering, Ronaldo Hill, considering Gift Smith, Jay Rogers, Brandon Staley, and honestly, even Tom Telesco, who does do better drafting defensive talent on day 2, day 3. Not that he does better, but he's better at it than drafting offensive talent, aside from Keenan Allen, right? They did Desmond King versus Tevin Reese, right? Kaiser White and Drew Tranquil versus Marion Grice and Craig Mager. So they are pick number 77 now. So we do have the left tackle. Now, okay, there are options to trade here. I'm not going to explore those, but that is also an option. If another team wants to move up, you could acquire some picks that way. But the Chargers do have, numbers-wise, they do have a lot of picks in this draft. Just because I gave up 3 picks to move up outside of the 13th pick. So I lost 3 picks. But, I'm still at, what, 6 picks then? That's not too bad. Plus I gained the Lions pick. So I have 7 picks. Actually, I have 7 picks in this draft. It's just kind of like a traditional look at it. They're just not 47, right? They're a little bit later now, starting at 77 on day 2. So I'm going to ignore these trades, but that is a possibility for them. Okay, so look, if this happens, then the Chargers have completely won the draft because the options for here. So let's look at corners first. You already know who I'm taking, but some of the options here, right? Tyson Campbell. I'm not a huge fan, but for a day 2 pick, but round 3 pick, we're doing okay. Paulson Adebo. I know Steven and Alex like him more than I do. But Adebo here wouldn't be too bad. True Williams, I think I want to wait a little bit longer for him. But there are definitely some options here. But you look at Richie Grant is sitting right here. Now, I don't expect him to be here at all. I expect him to go in the 2nd round. And if he's here in the 3rd and this is their pick, something is wrong because consistently he's like safety 3. If you count Owusu-Koramoah as a safety, it's Owusu-Koramoah, then probably Merrick, and then Grant. And some people have Grant over Merrick. I know Steven definitely does. I don't, but it's very close. So now, like I said, can we salvage this draft by finding Brandon Staley enough versatile defensive pieces to make a good draft? And I think we have here Richie Grant, which would fit perfectly. Let's look at the rest of the draft just in case. Jalen Mayfield, it's interesting. I really like Chaz Surratt, but the Chargers don't need another linebacker. I do like him, though, because he's a former quarterback turned defensive player, like Staley was a former quarterback turned defensive coach. So I like the conversations there. But as far as, you have to go Richie Grant here. A guy who can cover, tackle, everything, play anywhere you want in the defense would be perfect. If you have to, and Chris Harris playing in the slot, if you have to kick Chris Harris outside, on certain downs, on 3rd down, and Richie Grant becomes your slot corner, great. You can do that too. So I think doing that would work. Now the Chargers pick again at 101, I believe. Or 97, and then 101 as well. Now, does this stack up on the draft value chart? I haven't checked. I just needed to do whatever I could to make this trade work with Detroit. So at this point, you can go a couple of different ways. You can take another safety. I wouldn't. But I would be looking for best like defensive player available, unless someone on offense is just too tempting. So for edge guys, Jordan Smith, Ellerson Smith would be a great option. Hamilcar Rashid, I don't like him until later, but I could understand why someone would take him. As far as interior offensive line, you can go Trey Smith here. All right, that's a bit of a gamble, of course, considering what's his ailments are, if you will. But whoa, Drew Dahlman has really moved up the boards. My guy. All right. Offensive tackle, just in case, you do need a right tackle in the future. You could take him, could not take him, who knows? Wide receiver, hell no, I'm not taking any of those guys at this spot. But definitely some interesting options here. So I think I'm going to go with Ellerson Smith here. I have not watched him, but I'm going to take the word of my co-hosts, Steven and Alex, who both like him. I've heard great things about him. So I'm going to take him here. There are players that I like more, but I think I'm going to ensure that I take my edge guy here and then switch it to maybe one of those guys I like with the next pick. As far as versatility goes, I'm not quite sure. We still do not have a corner. So let's look at that. Okay, so the corner group is definitely going to suffer if I don't go corner early enough. But I went with Richie Grant because he was by far and away the best guy. So now can we find someone that's a little bit more versatile, if you will? Now, full disclosure, I don't know a whole lot about the corner class outside of the first 3 rounds. So you look at someone like Mukuamu, not really familiar with him. Well, excuse me, I am, but I haven't graded him. Shaun Wade, I'll consider that. Hold on. So my understanding of where we drafted before has changed because we made those picks. So we don't have a 4th round. We don't have a 5th round pick. So this is my last pick, which means I really need to nail this right now. So they do need some corner help. Technically, they need some outside corner help, but I just don't know if I like the outside corners here as much as but again, maybe that's my issue because I don't have, I know Keith Taylor, but that seems a little early. But then again, I don't pick until pick 158, 185, 183. Someone let me know. I don't pick for some time is what I'm trying to say. So it's going to be, I really have to nail this. Now, I do think that there's another option later that I can get to make things a little bit more interesting. But look, Shaun Wade was a very good, I don't have him ranked very high because I did take 2020 into account. But Shaun Wade was a very good corner in 2019 and I believe 2018. I don't remember if he played. I didn't watch that year if he did. People considered him as a 1st round pick heading into this year. Then he played outside and it wasn't so good. So he's bumped down because he has that limited versatility. I mean, he has versatility, I guess, but he's really just a slot corner. But if you take him now and make something of him and you get that 2019 version back that was supposed to be a 1st round pick, who really only lost his value because he went outside, not because of an injury, not because he just got worse at the same spot. He just played a different, played outside and got worse. Kicking it back inside, and now you're taking your slot corner here and at the back end of round 3. It's so weird to be picking at 101, by the way. But taking Shaun Wade here, I think would give some versatility, some inside-outside versatility for the Chargers. You could also go defensive line here. Also like Ellie McNeil, Tyler Shelvin. I would really like those picks here. But the Chargers really do need some corner help. So I'm going to, do I go against everything that I think? Okay, so we know that they need corner help. I want to salvage their secondary somehow, but is it the right move to reach for a corner that I'm not super thrilled about? I'm not wholly against Shaun Wade, but at this point, okay, you let me know. I want you to comment whatever you think I'm supposed to do, and then I'm going to do it. I am going to forego corner and punt that to somewhat the next season. And I'm going to go with one of the interior defensive linemen here. Lee McNeil, Tyler Shelvin, or Jay Tufele. I like all of them, actually. All 3 of them. I mean, they're pretty much in the same range, too. So whoever I'm taking right now, it's certainly not a bad spot to be taking them. I'd certainly prefer Shelvin, but at least I like what he does as his one job better. But I think Lee McNeil is a little bit more of a pass rusher while also having a Shelvin light kind of, run gap stopping kind of guy. So I'm going to take Lee McNeil here. that gives you that both that, early down run stuffer and some pass rush upside. Not a whole lot, but more than Shelvin, I think. Granted, he's not as good of a run defender, but I think you have some versatility there. So now the rest of the way, I really have to find these secondary pieces. I definitely have some guys in mind. We'll see. I only have specific guys in mind. The issue between me and someone like Steven, or any of the guys who actually do their more homework than I do, is that they know everyone throughout this draft. I believe Steven is going to end up with 300 guys graded. And that's a lot of work, by the way. So unfortunately, I have to watch a lot of picks go by. So this is the part where it's going to hurt. And, do I expect the Chargers to be contending in year one? No. Do I expect them to be contending in year two? Define contending. I certainly don't think they'll get to like a Super Bowl contending kind of team until year 3, year 4 of Herbert's contract, when they start to really go all in. So at this point, you're looking for guys that, if I don't get everything right on this first draft, they still have another draft to go, I think, before, so they can reload and build this team. Plus, they have everything post-draft. So I'm certainly not panicking by any means, but I'm kind of panicking. So listen, I have only ever talked about Avery Williams as a special teams kind of guy. When I picked him in the 7th round for the Chargers in our last mock draft, when Alex, Steven, and I worked together, he was at like pick 403. And everyone's like, ha, Avery Williams at 403. Then recently he started to move up to the 200s. I'm like, okay, maybe they just properly rated him in the 200s now. That kind of makes sense. Now he's at 188. This guy is like if your definition of flying up boards, granted this isn't an NFL board, but he is moving up boards, or this board that is, because he offers a lot of upside as a corner, but as a gem corner, not as a starter, but also as a guy who's really good on special teams. And that's a guy you want to, put on your football team for sure. So while I'm not quite sure how he is as a versatile corner, and I have not watched him as a corner, I only know about him as a special teamer. He's flying up boards. I've heard a lot about him. So I'm going with my gut here, and I'm going to go with Avery Williams here. A guy who I believe accounted for something like 6 touchdowns last season or whatever, like blocked, returned, or something like that. I don't know. It's pretty amazing. A couple of corners here. There are still some corners here. I could get some corner help. Right now I've taken, one secondary guy, Richie Grant, who honestly will fill so many roles for the Chargers in the secondary. I know it doesn't seem like I have a starting corner, but they do have Harris. They do have Davis. They already have Grant now, James, Adderley. That's a lot of mixing and matching for Staley, right? A lot of pieces. Now you have Avery Williams, a special teams ace. I like it. Nate Gawan, nice outside piece for the Chargers for sure. Do I reach for him? Who else do we have here? I don't want to just take corner the rest of the way because it would seem like we're a little too desperate here. Steven loves Josh Palmer. I could not finish watching their tape because I hated with all my life and soul. I hated watching their quarterback, Garantano. He's awful. Let's go a little bit more spicy. I think they have committed enough to the defense. Obviously, they went defense the next 4 picks. And I think your team is starting to come together. Let's get a weapon. Let's go with Jalen Darden here at pick 194. He seems to be falling down the boards. He used to be, PFF had him as a 3rd round pick. Granted, I don't remember where he was on TDN. He's not a guy I like as much. I think now that he's falling a little bit, I'm more comfortable with where he is, because although he has the great agility, great open field, he does great in the open field. His straight line speed wasn't as good as we thought it would be. And in a year where everyone's running fast, he ran like a 4.5, which leads me to believe that he's not really as fast as we think he is. But at that point, I like him as a weapon for the team. Potential special teams help there as well. Because the last guy I'm going to go with is definitely a versatile defensive player. I just took him in the recent mock draft. Steven has him as, I think, a top 55 player in this draft. I don't quite agree with that, but I'm not far off. Like he only made my top 100 for sure because I only graded 110 players. So I don't think it was very hard to make my top 100, but he is there. I do consider him someone better than a 7th round pick, and that is Cameron Bynum out of Cal. I did do a breakdown on him. Watch it, don't watch it. I don't care. He's a guy that did play outside corner, but also he did a lot of roles for the team. Played box safety, free safety, slot corner. Another guy who can move all over the defense, who is a pretty solid open field tackler. On the goal line, I wasn't as comfortable with what he was doing. It seemed a little bit hesitant, letting the play come to him before he gets there. But in the open field, as far as, the quarterback throws a receiver screen and he comes up and makes that tackle. Quarterback throws a pitch or running back screen and then Bynum comes up and makes that tackle. As far as that goes, he does really well. And I think that will translate very well to special teams. So Steven has him listed as a safety. I didn't like him as much as a corner because he did have some issues with coverage deep, coverage on the hitches. Unfortunately, he didn't have that. Doesn't really have that deep speed, nor does he have that burst to cover either of those. But as a guy who plays as safety, maybe like a downhill hitting safety, guy who can give you some slot reps, and hell, even if you need it, he can work on the outside because he did in college. I think that makes more sense than him as just like a corner. So they did have him listed as a corner here. We have him listed as a safety, and I think that works. So I'll go with him. So now the method to the madness, right? Now, I don't think the Lions are going to give the Chargers that extra pick. So that Aleem McNeil pick is probably not going to happen. It's probably going to cost more because it's not just, well, the simulation kind of makes things cheaper or seem cheaper than it really is. But it will cost more than the simulation always says. But also, this does not take into account the bidding war it'll take for the Chargers to move up to this spot for a guy, or for a team that wants a quarterback, or maybe they want Penei Sewell, maybe they want Kyle Pitts if he falls. Who knows? So this is the draft that I came away with. This is what happens if you move up for Sewell. I get Sewell, right? Left tackle position covered. Am I a little worried about the interior offensive line depth? Yes. Although I think they should try squat. I just said squat. Oh my gosh. Does anyone remember that from the old days? Scott Quessenberry, they should be playing him at guard as well. He should be a center of the future. That's fine. Maybe not future because Lindsley's on the team for 6 years, right? But as a future piece or backup, right? I think they should be trying him also at guard. Give him some of that versatility because he can. I believe he played guard in college as well at UCLA. What do I know? It's been a while. Ellerson Smith, I don't know how versatile he is, nor have I watched him. Sorry, guys, I'm behind. But a good pick there. Aleem McNeil, run stuffer, plus some pass rush upside. Avery Williams, corner, special teams. Jalen Dart on your weapon, but of course, Cameron Bynum as your versatile piece in the secondary. So I don't know about Avery Williams in the secondary, but I have given Brandon Staley 2 pieces. One very early with Richie Grant, who should be a second-round pick, if not a borderline first-round pick. And then Cameron Bynum all the way at the end, who can play safety, box safety, slot corner, deep, or not deep corner. What is a deep corner? Outside corner. So I think I've done enough here where, I'm not going to say the Chargers are contending because of this, but I think they're going to find that they have enough pieces to start to make this defense work. Finally, some defensive line help, right? 2 picks. I don't think Fackrell is really going to solve the issues there, but he's a good depth piece. But another guy like Ellerson Smith to rotate in because Nwosu is going to be gone soon. Well, sorry, he may be gone soon. He could be gone as early as next year. And Lee McNeil kind of helps because, what do you want to do with Tillery? What are we doing with Jones? Are they your 3-4 ends? Are they going to be your interior rushers? We'll find out. I don't know. So I like this draft overall, and I'm behind the move. Now, I think it will take that first round pick from next year to move up. I think it'll take, if it's just this year's picks, I think it'll take more than just pick 2, 4, 5. Or if it does take 2, 4, 5, they won't get that extra third in return. Who knows? But I think you can make it work. Now, I only feel like I can make it work because I feel like I know enough players kind of throughout the draft to make this work. I don't know how next year's class is. I don't know if it's a good class. I hear it's a good corner class, which is good, but then the Chargers, will they have that first round pick in real life? I don't know. Either way, this is the draft that I came up with. I think the team got better. They at least got better at left tackle, and they got better with their secondary with Richie Grant, and their special teams definitely got better. Williams, Darden, Bynum, and I think they got some, good defensive line rotational pieces. So I personally think it's a win. And for the Chargers to have a generational left tackle to protect Justin Herbert in a way that Phillip Rivers almost never had. From the time I was a fan, assuming Sewell works out, you have a guy for, 10, 15 years or whatever. I don't know how long tackles play for. I mean, the guy's 20, so you could have him for 10, 15 years. For Herbert to have that, which he deserves to have, and I said as much in my tweet, Justin Herbert deserves this. Not that he's really won anything yet to be deserving, but he's your franchise quarterback and you need to protect him. So I trust that Staley and Ronaldo Hill and the DB coach, whose name I keep forgetting, and Lesko can find the right secondary pieces, like as in the secondary, not like secondary, like second stringers, but some secondary pieces to make this work. And, one more draft as soon as we get to next year and they're just missing a first round pick, or maybe they're not missing any picks and they just give it the picks this draft. We've all forgotten about it, right? Laramie Tunsil took 2 first round picks and whatever else, right? At least 2 first round picks. The Chargers technically only give up 1 first round pick for a guy who has a ceiling that should be higher than Tunsil's. That's not bad. Now, granted, Sewell is unproven and Laramie Tunsil was, but like, it's not bad. I don't hate it that much. I get why people wouldn't want to do it, but I'm not wholly against it. You could sell me either way, but you can only sell me if you make a draft work after. So if you take Sewell at 7, that's fine. But then if we're taking, a tight end at 77 and then a running back at 97, you've blown the draft. Like, I don't care how good those players are. You've blown at the secondary. Unless Staley thinks he's that good and he's taking Alohi Gilman and who the hell else is in the secondary? Brandon Faison to the next level. Like, I trust that they'll get better. I just don't know if they'll get that much better. So they need some bodies. And I think we made it work. Guys, what do you think? Please let me know in the comments below. And always, Bold Tap.